Hey, welcome to Outside Perspective with me, Adam. All right, on this episode, I have my professor, or one of my professors, a great friend, mentor, Tracy Taylor. Uh, we had a great conversation. I really enjoyed speaking with him. He is just a wealth of knowledge. He is a fascinating guy, and we'll definitely have him back on the show, 100%. But we had, yeah, again, a great conversation. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. Uh, Before we get to the episode, though, let's want to maybe try this out. Do a couple housekeeping things up front, guys. If you enjoy the podcast, please help me out. Share it, like it, subscribe. Give me a 5-star review, please. Really appreciate those things. If you are an artist, a band, if you know any, if your friends are artists or bands or their friends, and you would like to have their music featured on the podcast, please have them send that to me. Just email them to adam@imposedwill.com. That's IMPOSED WILL.com. And then we can get your music on the outros, man. I'd love to just share art, and I appreciate it, and I love music, and I like to share that with everybody. So send that in, and yeah, we'll get that put on the podcast. That's really it. Oh yeah, one other thing, and I will also put this into the show notes. But if I promise Tracy, one of his sponsors is GI Construction here in St. Louis. So check them out, GI Construction, gi-construction.com. Again, I'll have them in the notes, so you can check them out for, I guess, any of your construction needs. All right, so cool. Again, I think you guys are going to enjoy this one. It was a amazing conversation, at least from my perspective. Um, I just really enjoyed just picking his brain. I think you guys will enjoy it as well, especially if you love jujitsu. We talk a lot about jujitsu and philosophy and stuff like that. So it's definitely one of my uh, most favorite conversations to date. So enjoy.
It is simple. Wow.
It is Tracy Taylor. Here we are.
And
I
and
wanted something that was portable and rugged, so like it won't break easily, and I can take it anywhere. Oh, thank you.
absolutely.
And good quality. And this is what I came up with. It
I
only has 3 pieces to it.
I can't believe it's that simple.
There we go. So let's dive right in. I wanted to really talk about. Well, we are a week removed from IBJJF Masters Tournament. I always mess up that
Um,
title.
yeah. How do I hashtag it? Is my biggest struggle. Do I go Worlds Masters? Do I say Masters Worlds? Do I say Seniors? I was at Worlds,
Yeah,
or maybe it's just Old Man Worlds. I don't know.
I think to us it's old. Like to the community, it's Old Man Worlds.
But to us,
I
it's
just call it Worlds.
it's more refined Worlds. That's how I like to look at it.
Yeah, I saw a video that I think Major posted it the other day. It was the difference between
Mhm.
Adult Worlds and
Mhm.
Master Worlds.
Yeah. And it's 100% true. And it's won by the if you happen to be in the adult division, which begins at 18 to 29,
I think so. Yeah.
and then it's win on that um, sweep at the end or the advantage versus the other division, the more mature division, if you will,
Yeah.
the fine wine division, which was hug it out, go hard, try to actually get the takedown, which isn't always that commonplace in jiu-jitsu nowadays. And then play the game when you hit the mat. No matter what happens, no matter who wins, it's help the guy up, hug it out for like 3.5 minutes,
Yeah.
and the match is only 5. And then I think you buy somebody dinner at the end. I think that's only appropriate.
Yeah. A lot of respect. And well, you had a hell of a tournament. Let's just call a spade a spade. You are the legend killer.
Wow, that's not. I'm
I don't
not.
know. I don't know if that's really the
Yeah, let's
too
not go with
strong.
Jamie Lannister. It's
Too
not.
strong.
Yeah, I
But
like to think that's. Yeah, that one fans might be uncomfortable.
So, well, for the folks
Let's go with
listening,
Anthony Smith, as I'm calling him, our teammate Anthony in Omaha, trains under our black belt Scott Morton in the UFC. I like to call him the legend killer. That's what I've been going with for him.
yeah, because he just had that huge fight with who did he just beat?
Yeah, he just beat
Shogun.
Shogun, and before that it was Rashad.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've been calling him that on IG. For you old folks, that's Instagram, because I heard some people, I think Sarah Helm and Crystal Rogers.
They didn't know what IG meant.
They had no idea. I was a little afraid for them.
They got to catch up with the times.
Yeah, so social media stuff will kill you.
All right, so we don't want to go with Legend Killer, but you had a huge
I'll
win.
go with Legend Slayer.
Slayer, I'll go with that.
I'm joking.
I'll go with it. Either way, Caprito.
Yeah, Caprito was. Here's the thing. It's easy to, for me, it was easy to fall in love with jiu-jitsu and the whole community. I had an uncle who was a black belt in karate, and I remember being a kid and watching him in his white gi or his black gi, and watching like reel-to-reel tape of him spar with Bruce Lee. When I was a kid, it was just like this cool thing. I mean, who didn't love Kung Fu Theater on Saturday morning or Sunday afternoon?
Yeah.
Like after church, it was great. So when I ended up watching, the UFC in college, and I was like, man, one day I'm going to do that. What Hoist did, because as a lifetime athlete, I just couldn't imagine what that guy was doing. That had to be something I had to know. I couldn't let somebody do to me what he was doing to other people. I had to know what that was, and I always knew I wanted to do something like wrestling, but more. And those are literally the words I used, and I didn't know any other way to describe it, but more.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw Hoist, and I knew that the one day I would do that. And I knew I would probably most likely fight, but I knew my passion would be Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So when I kind of started and discovered, Rodrigo Vaghi's academy, and saw the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu sign, that was it. Immediate love affair. I mean, I went out and got the magazines, everything. All in, both feet all in, 2 feet in, and I just kind of had to know. And in those magazines, Leo Zeno, Caprito, Tetier, Gaval, all the 3T guys. It was it's amazing. So I very well vividly remember looking at Caprito in those magazines. So when I saw the brackets and it showed him as my first match, more than anything, it was an honor. It was just a cool thing. Like,
right.
To me, like, and I've mentioned this before, don't ever let any moment be bigger than you, because without you, there's no moment. So I never looked at it as, wow, I can't believe this. It was more like an opportunity. And, I mean, why go and compete unless you're going to compete against the best? And, if you're going to be a bear, be a grizzly. So
right.
I absolutely wanted, and have always wanted, the best. I mean, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. And that's just the nature of the beast. So such is life.
Right.
But lay it all out there and let it fall where it falls. And I look forward to it. So.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we're there for, right? I mean, you want to go, you want to be the best in the world. And to be the best, you want to compete against the best. And so your bracket, you had 3 world champions in your bracket. You want to talk about a stacked bracket.
I think it was a light day for those guys.
This is like a...
Yeah, that's what we do. So yeah, it was stacked. I mean, you could probably flip a coin, and any given day, any one of those guys are going to win. And for the guys that didn't win, they're still tough.
Yeah.
In my best Brazilian accent, there's going to be some tough guys there, and I always kind of go with that theory, and it puts me at ease, as there's going to be some tough guys there. But as Denzel said in Man on Fire, everybody's tough, but not everybody's trained, and I always kind of look at that as well. And even if it's MMA, that kind of also puts me at ease. And what's to worry about when there's going to be a bunch of tough guys there? Everybody that trains is tough. Everybody that shows up to Worlds is tough, no matter which Worlds it is. So.
Yeah. I used to tell that to people fighting all the time. It's like, oh, is this a tough guy? Yeah, everybody's tough.
Everybody's tough.
Duh.
What are you worried about?
It's a given.
Right. So once you get past that, I think, and maybe I'm, mentally effing myself. I don't know, but I don't make things too complicated.
Yeah, there's no need to.
I think I'm simple in a whole lot of ways, and that's probably one. I mean, if it's MMA, well, man, that guy's gonna punch me. Yeah, but I get to punch him back.
Yeah.
So what's the problem?
Well, man, you handedly won that. I've watched it a couple of different times, and yeah, no, Rodrigo is right. You passed his guard right in the beginning. It was a clear cut. You were in
Yeah.
side control. You held it. I don't know why you didn't get your points there, but
You know, so he was holding on to my right arm as I passed, looking for an Americana. But my understanding of the rules is when your legs pass and clear, the
yeah,
points should be awarded. So I don't understand why. And I kind of, vaguely remembered that happening. And then, had some trauma later that day. So things kind of left for a while. And I watched that match for the very first time. Today's Saturday, so maybe Saturday, right?
yep,
Maybe
today's Saturday.
maybe Friday morning.
So it's over a week. You competed on Thursday.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I've
just
literally just watched that.
yeah,
And it's probably on my. I mean, I'm literally just catching up with social media. Did you see the post today where I said I
yeah.
keep discovering things? Like
Hmm.
literally, because I had my phone off most of that evening because I didn't want to even venture into.
Hmm.
I appreciate everybody and thank you, but um, we had to deal with a cut, and just wanted to enjoy the people around me, to be quite
Yeah,
honest. And I didn't want to. I wanted to kind of live in the moment of the people around me. It's no different than we throw UFC parties here.
right.
The team comes over, friends come over. More than anything in life, I enjoyed watching the people around me have a good time. So I wanted to just kind of live in that moment of my friends, my teammates, and um, just in the jiu-jitsu community. I think more
Yeah,
than anything, um, always try to be present, like even during the matches, and just enjoy myself. We only get one life to live, not the soap opera. And as Little Duval and Snoop said, live your best life.
yeah.
And I'm a full believer in that. And just enjoy it while you got it, because you can't do it again. There's no receipt. You can't return it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think about that because that community is amazing. And just that was my first big IBJJF event that I've ever been to. So for the folks listening, that's the International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation. It's a huge organization. They hold tournaments all over the world, and it's just kind of like the standard for the world rankings. And all the best jiu-jitsu players are competing on this circuit. There's a lot of other circuits as well, but or would you tell me what would you say because you're deeper in the game. So is that a fair assessment of IBJJF? Maybe not all the
yeah,
best are on
I mean,
IBJJF.
I would say it's, if you were look at the nucleus of the sport,
Yeah,
the hardcore nucleus, I'd say yeah. I mean, you've got some outliers. Um, let's just say with Donaher's
yeah,
squad, quote unquote squad.
that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I mean, right, and of course,
You have a
right?
lot of nogi guys that
Yeah,
are doing ADCC
but
and
still, one of the guys is venturing to No Gi Worlds coming up, and he's going to do phenomenal. And
yeah,
in the No Gi Worlds is an IBJJF event. You know, you have to have a governing body, good or bad,
yeah,
in everything, good or bad. And it is what it is. There's always going to be positive things. There's going to be some things that individually people feel are corrupt. That's just the nature of any government.
yeah. That's
But
one way to put it.
right, right. But even with that, if you want the success or um, the notoriety or the, I don't know, the clicks or the eyes that come with it, at some point you're going to have to venture over to the IBJJF or whatever the largest body is. Period.
Yeah.
Do you want to go to Canada? Or do you want to go to the NFL?
True.
Bottom.
Yeah, and that's I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I mean, that's just kind of where the show is right now. I think it. I'm interested to see where the sport progresses in the next 10 years. I personally believe that
Submission.
submission only is like where the world is
I don't
headed.
think it'll happen.
You don't think
I,
so?
I thought about. We talked about that a couple weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I really gave a lot of thought to it. And although I think so, my master is Rodrigo Vaghi, black belt of Rickson Gracie, and Rodrigo is amazing. Rickson, obviously the Michael Jordan Jiu Jitsu, and Rodrigo was the only kid allowed in Rickson's classes, so he grew up under him. Um, other than Rickson, you've got Carlson Gracie. When you look at the family and styles of Jiu Jitsu, and we definitely have a very aggressive, submission-laden style of Jiu Jitsu. Period. That's my roots. I agree with that. Position before submission. Try to get the submission. Finish your opponent. But I don't think that the submission only format is going to be the end all be all. And
Yeah.
I think some of that goes right back to the IBJJF and the largest governing body.
Oh, you think they're just so big that
I
maybe they
think I
can
honestly do. And that
stop
doesn't
it
mean I
from
don't like
growing?
or prefer one over the other. That just is my assessment of, you know,
Yeah.
how big it is and, Big Brother.
Yeah.
And let's be clear. Let's take some negative connotations off because there's plenty of negative connotations that go with
Right.
anything or any sport. They did just hand out a whole bunch of rings this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, if I have to pay a little bit more for an entry of a tournament or pay a membership yearly or all those things that gouge us a little bit
Yeah.
that we kind of curse about a little bit every time we do it, but I can be in an event and I can see them handing out rings to the greats of our sport, to the icons.
Yeah.
I'm all in.
Yeah, and it does kind of give you something to aspire to.
Even if I don't ever get one, and may not, whatever. Forget aspire's great. You know me, shoot for the stars, you fall
Right.
for the moon. But if I can be part of something and they're treating their own like that, man,
Right.
I'm in. I'm in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We're not talking about these $1 million contracts. We're taking care of each other.
Yeah, that is true. That was pretty cool. They presented them with the rings, and they just did the whole big ceremony. And like these are the same guys who are just walking around,
That are willing to sit there and take a picture with you,
Talk
sign
to
autograph,
you,
talk
yeah.
to you.
you know.
We talked about this too. You can't go to the LeBron camp and expect much more than the picture that every kid's going to get, or the that 2 seconds of glory you may get if you're lucky. You're going to get the picture and it's going to move on. But
Yeah.
you go to you. I mean, every since I started training, it was like having a one lottery ticket. And I have got to give like Grappler's Quest and Brian Simmons a huge shout out because he did so much for me in the community. And Ed Clay with Gameness, two of my first sponsors, and they packed me around the country to see a lot of this, and even to the Arnolds and Rickson Gracie, And so I learned very early in my jiu-jitsu career that, man, you're not just rubbing elbows with these people, because that implies you're less than them in some ways.
Yeah.
There was a brotherhood that was built, and
Yeah.
they treated you like an equal because you were part of the sport.
Yeah.
So I feel extremely blessed and lucky to be surrounded by that love and camaraderie.
Yeah.
Anytime you've got like, Grappler's Quest would have these $10,000 money brackets, and you've got Salo and Shanji and Jeff Glover, Tyrone Glover, all these guys that are in it and I feel horrible that for Bill Cooper and I feel horrible that I'm leaving people out. Ghazi Parham. I mean, there's all
There's so
these.
many.
I mean, in the dirty dozen of jiu-jitsu, male and female, and the female always get overlooked. The female dirty dozen is just as impressive, and I
Yeah.
don't think I knew then as much about them. They were just like Felicia O. They were just there.
Yeah.
And you forget that, man. This sport is rich in people, and unless you maybe know who these people are, they might walk right by you. I mean, we went out and had sushi with Rickson a couple of years ago when he was here,
That's
and,
cool.
and how many people at the sushi restaurant knew that was Rickson or Rodrigo Vaghi, or having a steak with God, who were we with? I can't even remember now, but whatever the case may be. How many people in that restaurant not even paying attention?
Yeah.
And forget paying attention, don't know.
Yeah.
But if you're in the right place at the right time, it's kind of going to be like Coming to America, and Zamunda and the Prince, people are running out trying to take pictures. And I mean, that's royalty in our community. Salo Hibero is what I was thinking about. But I mean, they live these charmed lives in a lot of way that within their communities. But
Yeah.
outside those communities, you're talking about regular people.
That was me all weekend. That was me
It
the whole
was,
time.
but it was fun. It was great for me.
I didn't know who anybody was. You're just pointing out everybody. I'm like, oh my God, like that's really like, oh my, yeah, legend. That was the word of the week.
Legend. But
Legend.
for me, it was fun for me to relive that through your eyes. And honestly speaking, I've talked about this since. There's a difference between, let's say, a fanboy who's just getting pictures to get pictures to say they did it, and between someone who's truly interested and wants to be immersed in the sport because they love it and just didn't know.
Yeah.
And you just didn't know, and there's no shame in not knowing.
Yeah.
So I got to relive it all through you, and so it was a blast because again, I'm all in, and I know you're all in, and you want to be all in. So
Yeah.
to see that and then be able to point people out that I may know personally or loosely have relationships with, or just know who they are.
Yeah.
And man, it was like growing. It's like every day's like being a kid. So I don't want to say like being a kid again, but
Yeah.
it was fun, and
Man.
so I enjoyed it as much as you did. Trust me. It was maybe I might have been selfish. It might have been more for me than for you. I don't know.
Man, it was so cool just to be like, we're just sitting in the stands, like, you know, who that's sitting behind us, and like we just passed somebody, like, you know, that who's just walked by, and like just the few people that I did know, I just felt super honored because like I felt like I had the perfect guide in you because. Like you said, you've been around the sport for a while, and none of these guys like they look at you as an equal. So it's just like, I mean, we had Machito walk by, and he's just like, "Hey, what's up, brother? How you doing?"
Right,
It's just
right,
super casual. I'm just like, I should have grabbed a picture with him. I thought I'd see him later on in the week. No, I didn't. Got to
right.
seize every opportunity, man.
One you get live your best life.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's
Can we
just
get that
like
music playing, intro, outro? Can I,
live your best
yeah,
life.
live my best life.
I'll put that on the outro track.
How about, I mean, Tom the Blast? How cool was he?
Super nice guy.
Right.
He actually even shared one of my pictures.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Right.
yes.
How great is that? Or let's go back to Comprito for a second. I, we were leaving the event for the weekend,
Hmm.
and the match is what it is.
Yeah.
But no matter what that match is, his legacy is bigger than that match.
Yeah.
Period.
At the end of the day, it's just a match.
At the end of the day, it's just a match. It's a small blip in what his legacy is. Um, there's the competitor side of me, and there's the human side of me too. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, and I wanted to see one of those rings. I
Yeah,
mean, you
those
look
were
at somebody like
nice.
Buchessa, who's got like 5 rings on his hand, and you can go online and you can look at those. I was either on IBJJF or on Flow Grappling, one of those. They've got pictures of all the athletes, probably IBJJF.
Hmm.
And Caprito's got a picture, and Buchessa's. I mean, there's so many people, but I wanted to see a ring.
Hmm.
But how do you go up to somebody and be like, "Yo, let me get that. Let me get your fits." You know what I mean? And I wanted to hold the ring, but I wasn't about to be like, "I just want to feel the
Yeah.
weight of it."
Let me
And
slide this off your finger,
right.
buddy.
Let me see that, homie.
Yeah, let me see. Let me see.
So you were there, I
Hmm.
think, when I asked.
Yeah, we were walking
Yeah,
out.
Caprito, and I figured, why not ask this dude to at least have some sort of relationship with him, but I didn't want to be quote unquote that guy
Yeah.
because he was with people and like I'm rubbing it in his face or being an ass. So I mean, I really just like I called him professor.
Yeah.
Wanted to be respectful as possible. Told him congratulations and just asked if I could see his ring because he's a legend and he's a guy I looked up to. I
Yeah.
should say looked as in past tense still, and just wanted to see it. And he was, as he was the entire weekend, he was very classy and I said absolutely and showed him to me. I mean, man, that's again, if I got to pay a little extra,
Yeah. That was a cool
it
moment.
was a great moment, man. It was
Yeah.
cool for me as a jiu-jitsu practitioner.
Absolutely.
You
I mean,
know,
there's just so much to the sport. I mean, the medals are great. It'd be nice, you know,
if you get one, that's great.
the title is great. Like those things are all cool, but there's just so many other things. I just keep telling everybody, like I just say, like everybody asks how the tournament went. I'm like, well, it didn't go my way, but it was a great experience. Like the
But those
experience
are the
was
things
phenomenal.
that help you grow. And I'll go back to when there wasn't a lot of local tournaments, locally here in St. Louis, or even really in the Midwest. And sometimes I get looked at like I'm an OG, and I think about the guys on our team that were there before me. And I'm not even close. I feel like being an OG. Maybe I'm third generation, but I got to see a lot. So if I saw a lot, I can't imagine what Rodrigo seen being in Brazil at the original academy teaching
Yeah.
insanity, or Ty Fox, Mike Rogers, Brian Guidry, Hal Goodman, you know, any of those guys.
Yeah.
It's insane to me the growth they've seen, the change they've seen in jiu-jitsu, or even just locally. And I think Missouri State Championship was maybe the first consistent tournaments we had here. Other than that, we had to travel to Columbus,
Yeah.
Ohio for the Arnolds, which was Helson's Gracie tournament mixed with Arnold Schwarzenegger's Bodybuilding Classic
Yep.
at the same time. But they also had like a gymnastics USA championship and a bunch of other martial arts things going on at the same time. And the
Right.
convention center was huge.
Mhm.
Every fitness vendor and model you could imagine in the world all there at the same time. And it was an amazing place to be. And people traveled across the country for that. So I thought that was just normal.
Oh
But
yeah.
my experience was that we traveled as a team and we traveled deep together. And those were some of the best times of my jiu-jitsu career. So I tell everybody, yeah, local tournaments are great, but until you travel with your team,
That's where it's really at.
that's where it's at. That's
It's
where you learn about yourself
Yeah,
in the
it's
sport.
easy to be a big fish in a little pond when you
Yeah,
just only compete locally.
completely easy. And to be honest, it had to be, man, when I got my purple. Let me think. I had just gone out to. I'd done worlds as a blue belt and got third. Lungs gave out on me, cracked a rib, impinged my lung in a fight, and competed in the world as a blue belt. Wasn't in the best shape as you can imagine.
Hmm.
About a month later, maybe I went out to California and did the U.S. Open out in Santa Cruz by myself. Got third in that, and then there was a local, again, I think Missouri State Championship tournament here, and won that, and I got my purple. And as Rodrigo, our instructor, said, you did all that stuff, and then you came back to represent your team in a local tournament and risked it all, so to speak. But I didn't even look at it like risking it all. It's competing. It's what you do, right?
Yeah.
And he promoted me for that, for my purple, for that, for quote unquote risking it all. But I mean, what comes before your team, if that's the case, and for
Yeah.
the people who made you what you are, or your master, your jiu-jitsu father, so to speak, who
Yeah.
without them you'd have nothing, and that's how I looked at it. So it was, like a blip on the map. Like, of course I'm going to do it. This is for your honor. It's for
Right.
jiu-jitsu. So there's something to be said for traveling. Take every opportunity you can, but don't become a snob either.
Right.
That's one of the biggest lessons.
Well, the sport will humble you
Easily,
quick,
always, even in
real
wins, it
quick.
humbles you.
Hmm.
I mean, I've only watched the video once, but which I didn't even really want to watch it then. But I don't like watching myself.
Yeah, I don't either.
I'd rather watch the losses. Obviously, you learn more from those, but you know, just yeah, you know how it
Yeah.
is. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I take that back. Sometimes I like to, I mean, because I'll get obsessive about it. That's the reason.
that's exactly the reason.
Yeah, it's like, because I like to watch it so much, I just won't watch. Because otherwise, I just keep watching over and over and over. I'm just like, oh, man, I should have did that different. Like, I quit watching my matches because, like, I get mad at myself. I'm like, why weren't you more aggressive there? Why didn't you do this there? Like, but they're good learning
No, they
lessons.
are. I mean, I know what I did wrong. The things, even when you win, I know the things I did wrong, what I could have done better.
Yeah.
And I'll never reach perfection, ever.
Yeah.
But I am a perfectionist, and I think within the pursuit of that, obviously I'm going to fall short, but it'll get me to the best version of myself. So that's really probably the reason I don't like watching,
Yeah.
because I do a lot of visualization. So I don't need to watch a lot of video of myself to know
Hmm.
what I did wrong, because it's there, it's captured.
Yeah, it's just burned in your
I've already
mind.
played it out 1,000 times before I did the match
Yeah.
and felt it. So I have conversations with myself during the match, so I know where it's going, what I'm doing, right, wrong. Not that we don't all need a lifeline, you do. And then, I always do a post-mortem mentally
Hmm.
after the fact as well. So mental game's huge in the
Yeah, that's
sport.
a big part of it.
Yeah, it's important.
Visualization is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, we have these mirror neurons, so even just like immersing yourself in just like watching technique, it's as if you are doing the
The
technique.
minute muscle reactions.
Yeah.
No different than, you watching the UFC or a football game and you start, nudging your body one way to the left or right to kind of tip the weight of the person you're watching.
Yeah.
Well, when you're learning something, you start doing that. And when I go back to football and watching film for games, and you watch that stuff so you can learn, and then you have those, your receptors in your brain, and see it over and over and over and over. So then when you see it in live as it's happening, you react quicker.
Yep.
Well, you're also training your mind, the minute muscle reactions, because you start to have that fast twitch muscle gets involved with it, and you automatically react faster because you've involved your brain, and those the muscles to get there.
Yeah,
So
you start creating those grooves
those
those
pathways.
pathways. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the word we're
Jinx,
looking
you owe
for.
me a scotch. Yeah. And I learned that in grad school. But I remember being a kid and really being interested in sports psychology for what unknown reason. I didn't know it was even a thing.
Hmm.
To a neighbor brought me a book one day and said, "Seems like something you might be interested in from the conversations we had," and handed me a book on sports psychology, and then that was it for me.
Yeah. I think sport is a good analogy for just life in general. I think just the mental aspect of life is just so huge, and a lot of people develop that through sport, but I mean, it just carries you all the way through life.
I think that jujitsu specifically, more than any other sport, other than let's say like wrestling, football has always been my favorite sport. But wrestling is God, you learn the most lessons about life and yourself in wrestling.
Wrestling changed my entire life.
Has to.
I feel like there's certain things that you can kind of pinpoint in your life. It's like that decision altered the entire course of my life. I don't know how many decisions that ends up being throughout one's life or how many you recognize, but in hindsight, that one decision altered the entire course of my entire
You know
life.
why, don't you?
Why is
It's
that?
the T-shirt. The I didn't go to wrestling tournaments for years until my kid started wrestling this year or a couple years ago, and it's the same T-shirts being made and the same heat press machine as when I was a kid. And there's that one. It's the Dan Gable quote. Once you've wrestled, everything in life becomes easy.
Yeah, so
That's
true.
why.
Yeah,
Absolutely the reason why.
that's true.
And jiu-jitsu's obviously grappling art, and it's the kissing cousin of wrestling.
Oh yeah,
So I think in a lot of ways it's expanded itself and its universe even more so than wrestling has in the world, and for me specifically. So I'm a firm believer that jiu-jitsu holds all the answers to the life in itself. You can learn every lesson in life you need to know. Well, jiu-jitsu and keeping up with the Kardashians. It's all right there.
everything is
Everything you need to know is like right there.
right.
Maybe one more than the other, but they're all literally right there.
Yeah,
You can pick it out, and so far it's held true. And when being a parent and seeing my kids make mistakes, or me make a mistake as a parent, or even at work in the office, or just even being a professor with your students, or being a friend.
yeah.
And of course, I'm speaking about jiu-jitsu, not the Kardashians. But Kris Jenner, she's a pimp, so whatever.
Hey, listen,
She's run the game.
fucking Kris Jenner. She's the fucking. She's
Let's
the.
just stop with fucking.
She's like
She's the fucking. Just
Griselda Blanco-ish.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
There you go.
Man,
She's an OG for sure. You learn. I mean, I try to refer to those little lessons like in class when I teach, like even science, like if you're inside somebody's guard and the height at which you sit, and refer to that as a building in a tornado.
yeah.
A tall building versus a short, squatty building. Which one sways more?
Right.
Where should your base be? And make those connections for people. Even more important with kids, but sometimes I forget that it's not necessarily a common sense thing. And sometimes I make the mistake of thinking, well, it's just a common sense factor. But I have to remember you're just connecting dots for people.
Yeah.
And if you can find a way to connect a dot better for somebody, the easier it is and the more they will remember things. So you come up with snappy sayings or just those
Yeah.
little things to remember. And it's not ever that somebody's slow or that they're stupid or it's their first time,
Yeah.
taking that route.
Yeah. You can't know everything.
You can't. Period. Why would you? This is
Yeah.
a whole. It's a subculture,
Mhm.
and not only is it a subculture. This is you're Magellan.
Mhm.
This is your first time on the seas.
Yeah. You want to
And
talk about?
So
Yeah.
and I'll be so here. Take this, Adam. You are one of the most unique and brightest people I know, and I still have to go. Why does Adam not know that?
There's so much I don't know.
But there's so much I don't know. There's so much, and sometimes I just assume you know. But we spend a lot of time together on the mats.
Yeah.
And sometimes I go, well, Adam, why don't you know that? And I go, well, I didn't know that. And why should I know that? Not that I'm any better than you, because I have to go right back to where I was at your belt rank at that time.
Yeah.
And, I didn't know. And that's not to say, again, I knew more than you at that time. But it's always a great reminder because I still, I have the luxury of picking up the phone and calling a guy
Yeah.
who calls a guy. And if I don't know, I call my professor. And if my professor doesn't know, it's pretty cool that I can ask my professor, and he says, I'll call jiu-jitsu about itself. I'm going to call Rickson and ask
Yeah.
Rickson a question about himself. He's the embodiment of jiu-jitsu,
Yeah.
and we're going to get an answer.
And he'll take that call. That's what's so
He'll take that
amazing.
call, and
Yeah.
that's what's sweet about it. So you're going to call jiu-jitsu and ask jiu-jitsu a question about itself, and jiu-jitsu's going to answer that question? I'll take that
Mind blown.
several times over.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
But it's you forget almost how humbling it can be. And again, I don't know. I'm far from knowing everything. I mean, you look at the stripes on a black belt, and again, I mean, it tells you everything. It tells you nothing.
Yeah.
You know, you earn stripes as a black belt by your time in sport. You know, not by accomplishments necessarily, but how long you've been around the sport at that point. And that's a crazy thing because it's true. You know, a white belt's a black belt, a black belt's a white belt that never quit. But the amount that you learn just from showing up, you hang out in the barbershop long enough, you're bound to get a haircut.
Yeah.
What you learn just being around the sport
Mm-hmm.
is huge, huge. Just being a gym rat, so to speak.
Yeah.
You got to pick up a thing or two, and depends on the gym too. The legitimacy of the gym. You know, everybody can get a black belt nowadays, but who'd you get it from?
Yeah.
But
Lineage
just,
is huge.
just being around it can mean so much, and you can learn so much, and that's probably the best part of it. You know, just regardless of anything else, you can pick up so much by being present. And even then, there are things. It sounds so. It sounds ignorant to me, to be honest, because we're talking rank. But there's things like I'm not better than you in any stretch of the imagination. But there's things you know that I don't know, because some things come down to exposure,
Yeah.
timing, right place, right time.
Mm-hmm.
So there's moves you're gonna go teach me.
Yeah.
I've never seen.
And just being a person, you know, we kind of put our own creativity into it.
Sure.
That's definitely one thing that I've always had to work through is just, I'm definitely guilty of just assuming everybody knows what I know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the case because not everybody has the same interest as me, has spent the same time doing the things that I've done, have the same, you know, experiences. And all those things come into play in jiu-jitsu for sure. No, I think I'm so good. This tastes really good.
Not even just. God, yeah, I think interest is a huge thing because maybe sometimes garbage in, garbage out. Maybe, and I forget what the theory is. Rogan talks about it all the time. Your mind can only hold so many things, so many names, blah blah blah.
Oh,
blah.
Dunbar's number,
Dunbar's
100,
number, right.
150 people.
Right. So you know, and we have that capacity, I'm sure, when it comes to techniques, and I always refer to that. But maybe there's something again that fits your body style more, or that just speaks to you more as a whole. And maybe it doesn't to me, so I kicked it out, didn't have time for it, scoffed at it, and I just wasn't ready for it. But it comes back around a couple years later, and I'm going, man, that's awesome, that's amazing. You big dummy, you learned that as a white belt.
Yeah.
But I just wasn't ready for it, or I didn't have a place for it yet. And now I have a baseline for it, or the background for it, and a place to add it in now because I've developed movements around it that might truly work. And that's what's incredible. So many things incredible about the sport.
So many. I think for myself, so kind of up until the point where I started helping with kids class has just been the game changer for me because I feel like a lot of my jiu-jitsu game was kind of like almost like subconscious. Like I knew what I knew and I would think about things whenever I was rolling, but I never had a full like deep understanding of those techniques. It wasn't each step along the way. Like I couldn't explain it to you. I couldn't break it down. I just knew how to move my body
You
in
just
this
did what you
particular
did.
way.
Right.
Yeah, and it just worked out. So like helping with kids class and like actually having to break things down and actually have an understanding so we can explain it. I realized how much I didn't know. Like I don't know a lot of stuff. Like I know how to do these things, but I don't really understand them.
Like the why.
Exactly, like the why or even the complete how, like every step. You know what I mean? Because what's that quote by Einstein? Like you don't understand something. I don't. It might not have been Einstein. I might be making that
Who
up.
cares?
Either
Well,
way,
Einstein did it.
you don't understand something completely unless you can
Teach
explain
it.
it to a 5-year-old.
Right.
So it's like I didn't understand a lot of even smash passes, knee slices, just different things.
The
just
basics, right.
each step. Like there's just so many times I'm like, hey Tracy, how do we do this? Like how
Right,
do you want this
right.
taught? That's how I'd frame it. Hey, how do you want this taught?
No, but that's so important. At the same time, there's a huge comfort in. I hate to say building a staff, but there's a huge comfort though in not being present when you know that the people are going to teach something the way you want. or more specifically, teaching it correctly.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be there. I mean, that's the case with any business, though, right? If you don't have a great staff and you have to be there every moment, then you're not a good boss, so to speak.
Right. You have to train people.
Right.
To get to there.
And I'm by no means a boss, but
You're a leader.
you know, it won't matter unless you have good people around you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you have people willing to learn and willing to teach, then none of it really makes a difference. But I have, man, it's an amazing feel. I hate the word awesome. I hate it.
Yeah.
I'm not
We misuse it.
It does, but I'm going to use it again for probably like the fourth time.
It's awesome.
Literally, Charlie Brown. I'm going to use the word
Literally.
literally. I'm going to use the word again. Literally. It's an awesome feeling when you have people around you, you know, that are committed to learning and doing things the correct way. And again, I'm not going to take credit for it, as I learned from my master, who learned from his master. I'll take credit for nothing. The way I learned them, and then we'll stay true to that, and then reteach that to the future. You're more important. The other coaches are more important. Our students are more important, all more important than me. Because collectively, you all have much more time in the sport left than I do. Period. And what you all carry forward is so much bigger than me. Period. And that's what truly matters. And that's what's amazing about what we do.
Yeah.
That's what's so amazing about what we do. But when you can take that and you can teach that, and you can teach this foundation of moves that you take let's just say an 8-year-old or 9-year-old kid who can take that and build on that one thing, and that kid could forever change the sport, because the way they perform a movement becomes a variation of something based on their size, their weight, their understanding, their personality. Those very unique individual things changes the sport forever. And that's what separates us from Taekwondo, or for Brazilian, Taekwondo, karate, and the other, martial arts, karate, empty hand. That's what separates us from those arts. Because those things, katas are beautiful things. They teach you these basic movements. We have our own katas, arm bars, triangles. You go through those movements every single day, blah, 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 blah. But we change those things every day when you spar. Those things get recreated based on the algorithm, the if this, then do that.
Yep.
And I think there's algorithms in every martial art, in every sport, in everyday life, in every business transaction, in everything.
This is life.
And man, we're right back to jiu-jitsu mimics life.
There we are.
We're done. Podcast over.
So we can end on that note. So, okay, this is not probably the cleanest segue, but I do want to jump back to Worlds because so you won that first match against Caprito.
Caprito, yeah.
2-0.
So again, very gracious person. I don't want to understate that fact. And who stopped and before we went. Okay, so I got to tell you. So I felt like the fix was in. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, that's where I'm getting to.
Yeah,
that's where I'm getting to.
So ask your question. I mean not. Okay.
Oh no, you're good. So you won this first match, right? They didn't necessarily give you points like they were supposed to. There were quite a few refs kind of lingering. Like we had 3 refs for your match.
Nobody else had 3 refs.
Yeah,
I remember.
A lot of uncommon protocol going on.
Walking out. So first of all, let me go back. I showed up. They said you're supposed to show up an hour early to the bullpen. For those that don't know about the IBJJF, they have a protocol you should follow. Your gi, your martial arts robe, if you will, has to meet certain specifications. They measure it. You have to weigh in with it on. They do all these things. I brought 2, as I advised you to as well.
Which, thank goodness, I did.
Did you have to change?
I had to use the other one because my patch wouldn't have passed.
So, yeah, I've ripped them off before.
I didn't want to rip it off.
Yeah. I brought 2 belts even.
Yeah, my belt worked out.
2 belts.
Thank goodness.
2 gis.
I tied it a particular way.
I was not going to give them the opportunity to steal this away from me.
Because you had issues in the past.
I have. But I in my head, I knew how this was all going to play out. And that sounds, for some people, that could sound arrogant. But to those people and to anybody else that don't think that sounds arrogant, I'll tell you this. The best thing that can happen to you in life, or for the people that didn't have this, the worst thing, and I apologize if it didn't, And I'll tell you now, you can accomplish anything in life. Is my mom told me I could be anything I wanted to be, and I could accomplish anything I wanted to if I worked hard enough. And everybody should hear that from their parents.
And they have to
Everybody.
mean it.
And they have to mean it.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't just my mom. My dad followed up with that too, but they meant it. So I try to say that in classes when I teach. But it makes a huge difference when a parent looks at you and says, you can do anything you want to in life if you work hard enough. And they mean it. So you can't tell me any different than that. So, you know, John Jones, it is what it is. The guy did what he did. But I go back to thinking about his music when he enters the ring. 50 Cent, God gave me style, God gave me grace. God put a smile on my face. You know, it ain't my fault. And I think it like that song says it all right there. Like, you can call me black, you can call me ugly, but you can't tell me God don't love me. Because like that gives you a sense of purpose. And my mother told me I could be anything.
Yeah.
And who's going to tell me any different if I worked for it? So in my head, I knew how this whole thing was going to play out. No other way than I just knew it.
Yeah.
I just knew it. I had a game plan. I knew it. And so I showed up early. I brought my 2 gis. I brought my 2 belts. I was removing the outside noise to ensure that I did everything I was supposed to do to make sure that nobody could take something. It would limit the opportunity for somebody to take something away from me.
Right.
Caprito stopped and talked to me before we headed out, which he was being gracious. He didn't have to do that. Again, probably back to the adult worlds versus masters worlds. I don't know. There's no reason to hate each other. We're just going to go out and do some
Just
things.
competing, just having fun.
Right. Just going to break my arm, and that's it. And
It's all jiu-jitsu.
put
It's
me
all
to
love.
sleep. It's all fun. And then as we headed out to the mat, I feel like every referee within 2 miles walked off the mat and headed over, and their suit and ties, and shook his hand and spoke in Portuguese and tell him good luck, and we're going to ensure that you win this match.
We tried.
Yeah, as we stood there waiting to enter the mat, every photographer this side of the Pecos stood next to me and continued to take his picture and not worry about where I was standing and that.
The other guy.
As I said, the other guy. They were just like, excuse me, sir, can you move over? But I felt like I also had a secret that they didn't know. And it just kind of worked out the way it did. We walked on the mat, and I see 2 additional referees, so 3 refs total versus the 1 you typically have in the first or second rounds, or outside the semifinals. So I wasn't sure why we had that. Maybe there's some unspoken rule I don't know about world champions.
Maybe.
There might be, and if anybody can chime in on that, I'll gladly take that. I'd like to know that, which is fine. Just more people to bear witness, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's weird all 3 of them missed that pass.
Yeah, that happened. That happened. I didn't have a very, very vivid memory of that because of what happened second round.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought, and no other way to explain it, but I thought I passed his guard, and I couldn't remember exactly what happened, but I thought I passed his guard. But
Yeah.
looking
You
back
did.
at the video, yeah, I was like, yeah, yep, I did that.
Definitely passed his guard. So it should have been, what, 5-0?
Yeah, should have been 5-0.
Ended up, after all said and done,
2.
ended up being 2-0.
Obviously without negative points and advantages and the new Singapore math.
Yeah.
2-0. We'll simplify it. But
So got that win going to the second round. Second round was, man, you guys were battling for that takedown right there on the edge.
that's fun, though.
He went for that throw.
Yeah.
He whipped it too.
He did. So, he attempted to throw earlier, and so I always have a conversation with myself on the mat. So I knew that I knew a double leg was going to be my answer, or a Russian. And at one point I kind of tried to control the armpit, the seam of his gi, and get to kind of a Russian.
Mm-hmm.
That usually kind of nullifies kind of the judo aspect of the stand-up game, a Russian or a double leg. So I was, again, having the conversation in my head. I think we walked off the mat when I had kind of the seam, and then when we came back, I kept thinking, get underneath the guy to get kind of to the Russian, and then that's when I think I went airborne the first time and kind of kicked out to the side, and then we restarted, no big deal. And then the second time, kind of collided heads.
Right, yeah. Big headbutt there. Had a huge gash in your head.
Yeah, inadvertent headbutt. But
Yeah.
had a
Just kind of how it worked out.
about an inch gash that left me bleeding like a stuffed pig.
Yeah, because you almost essentially like went with the throw and like kind of cartwheeled over,
Mhm.
and you were facing him when you landed.
Right.
Like, you immediately were facing him. So it's not like he got the throw, but just in that motion, you guys collided heads, and then you were obviously immediately just kind of dazed from that, and kind of just off. Just it definitely just took you off center there for a second. And then you're bleeding everywhere.
Yeah, I don't. That's where things got a little blurry. I
Yeah.
remember, kind of walking away through, in my eyes, it was kind of this filtered viewing lens.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing the referee. So what gets funny is to look. I watched the video, part of the video once since then.
Mhm.
And what's funny is to try to kind of streamline or put in lockstep my thoughts of how it happened, which were pretty accurate looking back at it, and then seeing the video and seeing it actually play out. I think he kind of walked over, stumbled to the side as well, and the referee walked over to him.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, man, why isn't this guy running after me? Because I'd be running after me right now because I'm walking away. I didn't know why I was walking away. I just knew I was walking away.
Yeah.
I had no idea where my body was taking me to the side. And then I remember seeing the referee kind of point over my direction. When I look at the video, you can clearly see his side, his corner, like pointing at me vigorously, like.
Yeah.
And I guess that's when they saw the blood kind of start falling out of my head. In my head, what happened was I'm just over there, and I don't know why and why he's going the other direction. But when I see him kind of go to his knees, I'm like, okay, I can relax now.
Yeah.
Which was my body going, dude, sit down.
Yeah, because you dropped there for a second.
Yeah, because I kind of dropped, and then I remember seeing everybody on our side kind of looking at me, and I'm like, why are they looking at me? And then I went to, man, my head hurts. And as I kind of held my head like, man, this really hurts, I kind of went to wipe the sweat away that wasn't sweat. And then I looked and saw all the red on my palm. And then as I looked down at it, I saw blood on my gi. And I was like, why is that there? And then that's when I saw, like, the blood begin to kind of pool on the mat.
Yeah.
And then it was, I kind of quickly, like, oh, okay.
This is what's happening.
I'm quick at math. I am. I'm good. I'm a bright, intelligent guy. I figured it out real quick then.
So you ruined your gi.
Yeah, I started scrubbing that thing when I got home. That was my first thought. Man, this show-you roll is ruined.
Oh, such
This
a
baby
beautiful
blue
gi.
joint is ruined.
So
And
beautiful.
I started thinking about, like, this guy Pete at HQ at the headquarters school who's like, man, I love that gi. And I felt a little bad for Pete and thought we're going to have a funeral and play taps.
Yeah, you could have just gave it to him if you were
Yeah,
going to ruin
I
it.
can't use this anymore, Pete. You can have it. I love that gi. And that was my first concern, I'll be honest.
Priorities,
like,
folks.
Yeah, they're like, we're going to have to patch this up. I'm like, yeah, but what about this gi?
Come on, that's a show-yo roll, baby blue. You
s-
can't even get this anymore.
Trying to get a sponsorship. Can you spray this thing with that peroxide you're putting in my head?
Come on, show-yo roll. If you're listening, we're looking
Right.
for sponsorships.
Or Kings, come through,
Either one.
Either one, I love you both. And for the record, I do every show you roll I get, I customize my patches.
You have the nicest patches.
It became a hobby.
Well, you take pride in it.
I take pride in customizing those show you rolls. It's fun.
Those are nice.
For no damn reason, but it's fun. And
Yeah.
why not? I bled, and then they started patching me up, and I remember them asking me some questions like, "Where are you at?" and "What belt are you?" And I remember kind of struggling with everything else, but as I was perusing the audience for answers, like looking for signs of what city you're in or state or things like that, and then when the guy's like, "So what belt are you?" I looked at him like, "Are you crazy?" And I spent, how many years I spent trying to
I'll
get
never
this?
forget that.
Yeah, come on now.
That's a silly question.
Right. He insulted me and shit. I think I said that to him. I actually said, "Are you trying to insult me at this point?" Like, I knew I was a black belt because I worked hard for that shit, but everything else was a little sketch except for that.
Yeah.
That thing I knew. Rodrigo Vaghi Black Belt. I took pride in that shit.
Yeah.
Then we restarted, and I know this is crazy and people are gonna be shocked, but I bled again.
Right.
Because there was nothing over my head, over the inch gash. And I think we stopped again, and then they wrapped me up like I had a toothache, and then like I had a headband,
Yeah, I saw that.
like a mummy, and
But you gutted it out, though, man. The whole,
I wish I could make it more dramatic than it was, and make it into something special. But at the end of the day, I'm not really that bright. And, it was a jiu-jitsu fight. And It's a fight. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah, yeah. No, these things happen. So the point, what I want to get to is, so that guy that you competed against, you had that hard battle with.
Yeah.
I unfortunately I missed those. I missed your matches. I was supposed to be there for those. I ended up getting delayed in Phoenix. By the time I did get there, you were finished. But your guy was competing. I think he was competing in the semis. He had a
Right. I lost a match.
you
Ended up
lost a
losing.
match
Finished
to
the
that
match.
guy.
Lost.
Yep.
He went on to the finals against Big James Foster, world champion as well. Big guy, good guy. Sponsored by Shory Roll.
Right.
Love you, Shory Roll.
Right.
So very reputable jiu-jitsu fighter. Great finals. Both of them. Man, that bracket was full of. Man,
Lots of killers.
lots of killers.
Yeah.
Can I use the bathroom?
Yeah.
Can I do that? Can we? What do we do? Do we pause?
You
this?
just go do it. So normally I'll just pause it, but
But you got stuff to talk.
but then I have to like have a whole nother like not start over again. I'm just gonna keep talking.
Yeah, keep
So
talking.
you just
I'll
go.
be back. Talk
I'll-
about was Hanato Liranja, was he there? Talk about him.
I don't know. I'll figure it out. We'll just keep it talking. I got to get better at this. So, yeah, folks. So while Tracy's away, yeah, so he's being very modest. We're not gonna let you. I'm not gonna let you guys. I'm not gonna let him fool you guys. He's a black belt under, like you said, under Rodrigo Vaghi, who is a black belt from Rickson Gracie, and Tracy is he is the guy that I spend probably the most amount of time with on the mats these days because he's leading the kids program at the gym that we're in, and it's just such a I guess like an I don't know, it's an honor for sure, but it's just such a privilege just to have somebody with that knowledge base to pass jujitsu on to these kids, and I just feel super lucky to be able to fucking learn from him. 3 days a week, it's a technique class with him, but anyway, talking about worlds, dude, he won an amazing match against one of the best in the world, came back, had a second match against another stud, ended up busting his head, had a huge cut in there as we just went over this whole situation, lost a close match still. It wasn't like the guy just ran away. This guy, and we'll get to this when he gets back, this is where I'm getting to. This guy that he competes against has a tough semifinal match. That's whenever I get there to see that semifinal match for that guy to go into the finals. Let me just fill you in on my travel day, why I got there late. Get to Phoenix. I have a layover in Phoenix. I'm supposed to have, like, I don't know, 55-minute layover. Nope. Flight gets delayed like 3 or 4 hours. Then they cancel it. Finally put me on a flight, I don't know, a couple hours later, later than the delayed flight. End up spending like 7 hours in the airport. Such a long day.
Did you eat because you had to make weight?
I didn't eat because I'm cheap and I didn't want to spend any money at the airport. And plus, they didn't have any good food.
You had to take a loan out. You didn't want Sbarros or anything? I mean,
No, I didn't. But I will tell you, it's funny because I texted this to Justin. The Phoenix airport has the most.
I've been there.
They have the most beautiful women out of any airport I've ever.
Oh,
I've
I was going to
spent
say
some
the
time.
most beautiful food, but yeah, it's.
Listen, I
good.
changed the subject, but listen, I was just sitting there just watching, just people watching. That's what I do. The food looked great, but there's just so many just beautiful women around. Like, I mean, it would be different like if I were to have been delayed in, like, I don't know, like the Omaha airport.
Been there.
Not hating on Omaha. I love that fine city. I fought there before.
It's a wonderful play, something. I don't know.
Yep, and we're back. Man, guys.
Technical difficulty here.
Technical difficulties. I'm slacking. My batteries died. But we're back in this thing. We're rocking now.
So Phoenix Airport, beautiful women.
Beautiful women. That's all I'm saying. This
Better than a tacos, apparently.
Just a key point. I didn't eat because I'm cheap, but I could watch a lot of people.
So here's my question. When you say, if you don't mind me asking, now, just beautiful because they're non-Omaha-ish women or because they were the, white long-sleeve shirt or blue long-sleeve pencil-skirted traveling for a day professional women, or just
no, a lot of I would just say I just appreciate all women. I just think they're beautiful creatures. So they weren't all like business women. Like you tell people are traveling for vacation or who knows what they're traveling for, but
Which is my favorite thing to try to figure out in the
yeah,
airport.
you
Yeah.
never know.
Yeah, but too cheap to eat. Let's talk about the big old Duke I had to flush in that bathroom. That was impressive. So I'm proud of my son Rickson because it was a man size. So cheers to you, kid. But start flushing the toilet. Proud of
Yeah.
you. Proud of you. But anyway,
Anyway, so where I was getting at anyway, I was just filling in time. So I was late. I got there. Anyway, the guy that you went against, he fought in the finals.
hmm
Um, and my point that I want to get to is the I've heard horror stories about IBJJF, and it
yeah.
was just a hell of an experience to be
So
there.
did you miss the match? Or did you see that final match?
I
You
saw the
saw that?
final
Okay, I was
match.
trying to remember.
And this is what's
Yeah.
confusing me because to actually be there and witness it, he was up 2-0. He got a takedown.
So we really need to see the entire match again. I'd like to see it again to make sure there's something I did not miss.
I would like to see it too.
In all respect to the IBJJF or anybody else, because I really would like you to send me a ring or that secret money you promised me for beating Caprino.
Caputo, or
Caprino.
Caprito.
It's the secret money you promised me. I'm willing to watch the tape again. But without seeing that, I don't know how Foster scored those points. And we might have all just collectively looked away at the time. There's got to be something. I'm not sure what happened.
Because my memory is, I don't know the guy's name, but he got the takedown.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
He had 2-0.
We'll call him Pitbull.
Let's call him Pitbull.
Another Brazilian Pitbull.
Sure.
Can't have too many.
He had the takedown. He had 2 points. He's in the other guy's guard.
Uh-huh.
And from my memory, that's the entirety of the match.
Yeah, side controller guard, and then it ended. And
So but all of a sudden 2 points appeared out of nowhere for the other guy, and then the ref gave it to the other guy.
Yeah, so then it came down to a ref decision, 2-2. I can't remember advantages, negative advantages, points, things like that.
Yeah,
but I remember
they each had
it was
stalling or
2-2, and then it came down to ref decision, and Professor Foster with the win. The other guy was Pitbull. Pitbull, was absolutely certain he'd won, as were we.
As were we.
And there's nothing. If you're gonna lose, if you're gonna be a bear, be a grizzly. Why not lose to the guy that won the whole thing? But taking that out of the whole thing, I thought even just looking at the match, if it had to go down to a 2-2 ref decision, I thought he won.
I did too. I
didn't see, with all respect again to Foster and to the IBJJF, whatever it is I missed that scored him the 2 points had to be pretty amazing.
Yeah.
The only thing when Pitbull scored the 2, it was on the same throw he threw me with, and he just kind of edged it out at the end, and just that he's got to be a Pitbull to train with. Just because that's the only he's going with that throw.
That's his
9 times out of 10. That's his bread and butter.
Jam.
And that is his jam and jelly. And he's pulling that thing and reeling it in and kind of end up pulling him over. And that's how he got the 2. And just doing that repeatedly. And I don't know, even just with – okay, we're joking about Pitbull, but he had a Pitbull mentality.
Yeah.
The entire time.
He was a hard-nosed fighter.
He was. And I got to be honest, it was – you want anything more than that? You want to fight those kind of people.
Yeah.
And there's never any shame in anybody losing to somebody like that. And I'm not trying to make excuses for myself.
Oh, yeah.
By any stretch of imagination, but those are the kind of people you want to fight. And if you lose and you lay it out on the line to somebody like that, it's an honor. You come back on your sword or on your shield or holding it. And he's the kind of guy. And that's not making less of Foster. I didn't fight him.
Yeah.
So even more so, let me give him another compliment. When you look at the podium, and I don't know if you've seen the podium, like the guys that placed first through third and tied at third, it's like murderer's row.
Yeah.
Like this is not a group of people you want to meet in a dark alley anywhere. You might not want to meet them in the mall. To be quite honest, you don't want to go to Panera or Starbucks.
We were in a dangerous building that whole
It was
week.
a very dangerous building. You don't want to go to Starbucks and order the wrong pumpkin latte or anything and have them look at you funny, because that's a tough group of guys.
Yeah.
And I peed myself a little just thinking about what the podium looked like just now.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure how he lost the match, but he definitely, in my opinion, won. But again, there's something, with all respect, maybe that we missed.
It's possible, but you know what? There was another match that I know I didn't fucking miss, and we had a teammate
Yeah.
who, and I know you were busy coaching, and
Yeah.
you can get wrapped up in it, but we had a teammate. She was up 11 to whatever that she was up. She took her opponent's back, got 4 points. It was clear as day.
It's on video.
It's on video. The ref
Right.
threw up 4. The table workers put the 4 points on there. She was up 15 to whatnot, and then all of a sudden those
4 points came off.
just
Right.
disappeared.
Which again I didn't realize, because I was.
Well, you're coaching. You're in
I
the
should have,
moment.
but I'll take fault. I should have realized that and the entirety of the whole thing, rather than getting caught up in just coaching. I should have seen everything.
Yeah.
And but I remember looking up after she did that and looking down back to the match, and then the points had been removed by the time I looked back up to the scoreboard. So I never saw the points change.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it. I was more concerned with her opponent was coming back.
Yeah.
And her holding
She was.
position and being in more dominant positions, and maybe mentally pulling her through
Yeah.
the match. And at the end of the day, those things, maybe we say the competitor side of me says, well, you don't leave it to the ref, and you should never let her come back like that. But the reality of the situation is also you had more points.
Right. Yeah.
And you don't remove
She
the
ultimately
opportunity
lost
for
that. 13 to 11.
Yeah.
And is that the ref's fault though? Is that the table workers? Is that maybe something that the organization can do better to make sure that the table workers actually care?
So I mean, table workers, let's be honest.
I don't know.
They probably got paid
I'm just asking these
a
questions.
lower day's wage and some pizza.
Yeah.
To work that table.
So I mean,
They're not as invested.
It's very clear they weren't invested.
I've reffed many times. I've got a plaque from the IBJJF saying I'm certified. And at the time it was a lifetime certification, which no longer exists.
Oh, nice, grandfathered in.
Yeah, not grandfathered in. It's a lot. There's a lot happening at one time. Mm-hmm. So I have a lot of sympathy and empathy for the referee. But what I will say is there needs to be some protocol. And I honestly still believe there should be video, but not until maybe the semifinals and finals match.
Right, and maybe even just for like brown and black belts.
Yeah, and again, and absolutely for brown and blacks, as we talked about before.
Maybe purples. Maybe I'm just biased on that
right,
one.
which I understand. Because you would literally spend all day at a tournament reviewing all these video, recalls and going through the whole thing, and you just can't do that.
No.
It's not realistic. And quite frankly, nobody cares unless you're a brown or a black belt, and really unless you're a black belt.
That's true.
And, as much as that stings, we've all had to deal with nobody cares until you're a black belt.
If that's the case, if we had to implement it only for black belts, I'd be okay with that because they earned it.
Yeah.
If anybody earned it, they earned it.
And I'll say let's go browns and blacks in semifinals to finals and have a video review. And so nobody would view the recording we had on the phone because you can't, which I get because you'd be doing it for everybody and everybody's got a case. But there was a mistake made. What's the answer for that? I don't know. Don't make the mistake in the first place.
Yeah, that's the obvious answer.
That's the obvious answer. Things happen in the heat of the battle, and I'd like to think it was the heat of the moment. But how the points went up and then got removed, was it a miscommunication between the referee and the table, or was it, did somebody fall for the banana and tailpipe? The fix was in. You got the okie doke. You didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on you.
Yeah.
I don't know. But overall, do the referees do a great job? Sure they do. I mean, you're seeing hundreds of matches a day, but there's something occasionally that happens that makes you want to say,
yeah.
It makes you kind of wonder if there's more in play.
All in all, I think they run a great tournament. I think everything is awesome as a whole, but there's definitely just some things that aren't consistent, I would say.
The membership has its privileges.
Yeah.
It's a Brazilian-born art.
Yeah, it's a Brazilian club. It's not a boys' club.
It's not a boys' club.
It's a Brazilian club.
So if we had to create a hierarchy, I think being Brazilian, then being Gracie Baja.
It's a big one.
And then maybe from there who your professor or lineage is from.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a Gaijin? Are you American or foreigner?
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. All those things are real.
Yeah.
Now, here's the crazy thing. Think about. I don't know if you ever thought about this. Had Rodrigo been there, would any of this been different?
It's a good question.
100%. All of it would have been different.
You would have got those points.
Yeah, I would have had those points because he would have started screaming in Portuguese, and he's a little,
I'm sure people
he's a
know
little,
who he
he's
is
a little
too.
crazy, and they do know who he is, and I love his craziness. But I mean, real story. I remember being at the Arnold's. I can't remember if I was a white belt, and they told us we were gonna go white belts, adult males at in 30 minutes, 1 o'clock, and then it literally was not till 1 in the morning. We waited in the hallway, we slept, and then we didn't get to go till at least 1. My bracket was still not up at 1 in the morning, and I would have gone later than that. But he walked over to the table, grabbed my bracket after screaming in Portuguese, and threw my bracket on top, literally, and then I got to go.
Wow.
And that was that. I'm thankful for it, but membership 100% has its privileges,
Yeah.
and I've seen it over and over. So the name, um, as well as nationality or whatever you want to call it, it
Yeah.
definitely has its privileges in the sport.
Well, it just is what
Um,
it is.
I mean, yeah, there's no two ways about it. It is what it is.
Yeah. Well, it is called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
This is true.
Let's
If
take
my
that.
last name were Gracie, maybe Gracie Jiu Jitsu would maybe trump that,
Maybe.
possibly.
Maybe.
Or my name was Carlinos, or any version of Carlos, possibly. But I'm gonna change my name to Trelinos.
We can make it work.
All right, I can do that. Just need to check my spelling on
Yeah.
that. But yeah, I mean things happen, but again, versus I guess the number of times they don't, or
Yeah.
But as we started off this whole thing, we're talking about governing bodies.
Yeah.
There's always going to be, something, some okey doke involved, some other angle, and nobody complains when it falls their way, though, right?
Right. Right.
So
Still a cool experience. I can't wait till next Worlds. Like I'm just counting down. Like I gotta wait a whole year.
yeah, but the takeaways you start think about how much harder you're going to train,
Oh yeah.
how much more focused you're going to be. You have to ride that wave. And those are again, I go back to when I first started. Remembering those trips when we traveled to the Arnold's and what it meant, and when I got to see what the culture was really about, or the Grappler's Quest times, and it really helps to shape you if you'll immerse yourself in that and provide more perspective and just the people and the relationships you build along the way, and it's something you can't replace in life, and sometimes you don't even appreciate it until you hear it from other people, like we talked about over this weekend or since then, and our postmortems, and just you start to kind of relive those things and think about. Unless of course you have kids, then none of it matters because they don't really give a shit what you did
They
or
don't
where you were.
care.
They don't care.
You're
They,
nobody.
my kids that probably didn't know I was gone. Well, I'm certain that one of them didn't know I was gone.
Absolutely. What?
Yeah, you did what? What happened?
That's cool.
Yeah, not even that. Not even that.
Not even that
No,
cool.
God, no. That kid could not care. Any experience I've had in my life, he just he'd shut it down because, well,
That's what makes him him.
it is. Would you have chicken nuggets? Yeah. Okay, then we can talk.
I love it.
Yeah, but that's what's great about individuals. That's what's great about being a parent and perspectives in life.
Yeah.
It always puts it back in perspective. But even seeing, you're at one end of the spectrum with completely immersed in it and how great it was, and then we have another student major
Yeah.
who at times can be a little oblivious to all those other things around him and that culture. Not oblivious to the great people he's met in his divisions
Yeah.
and those individual relationships, but Major could care less about the superstars of the sport,
Mm-hmm.
which was fine too, because it's about his individual experience and his paradigm, if
Right.
you will, and his battle to get there, and those are the things that are truly more important. At the end of the day, is his place in it, his struggle, his wins, his losses, it's not even those things don't matter as much as him getting better, and that's what he cares about. And seeing it through, the joy for me is seeing it through both sets of eyes.
Yeah.
But it's definitely two different sets of eyes.
Lots of different. I mean, and then we have teammate Maurice. He knew who everybody was.
Oh man,
He's snapping every
he
picture.
could.
He's much more of a fan of some of the people than,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? He's
Yeah.
taking the seminars and
Yeah. Yeah. There's that.
just
There's
just
right.
a lot of
But
different
hey,
ways to approach it all.
right.
You know what I mean?
But man, if you were to see it through his lenses, was there a better experience ever?
No,
Period.
no,
Not even negotiable. He had a better time than you had, than I had, or anybody else, wrapped up into
absolutely.
one.
He was just so stoked about all the people he's meeting. Like, you know, at the end of the day, we're all just people, and it's, you know, what makes somebody important to me will not make them important to you. You know what I mean? It's just
Sure.
like,
Sure.
but for when you are immersed into a certain culture, into a certain world, you know, certain people do stand out, and all the people that were there, like those are all the who's who's of our
Hmm.
world, or a lot of them anyway.
Yeah. Let
And
me throw this at you. I'm gonna ask you a question. Me personally, I when I think about your perspective, we spoke about Major's perspective and maybe Maurice's perspective, and I think where do I need to fall in order to be the best version of myself to compete? Do you have the ability? I'm interviewing you now. Do you have the ability to shut that on and off that day, or before the match, after the match, pick it up again later, or is it? I don't know if that even makes sense. Can you pick it up the next day?
yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, well, because so I really worked through that whole thing in high school with wrestling because it's almost like the same scenario for me because I didn't start wrestling until high school,
Mm-hmm.
and then I became varsity as a junior. And like there's some guys who are like they had been wrestling for a long time and they kind of been in the
Mm-hmm.
scene and like this is this guy and this is this guy and like to me they're just all people.
Right.
And then like once you do start kind of learning who people are, then you do begin to kind of like put them on a pedestal in a way, or you it's a
You can.
possibility you
Right.
can
Right.
do that. So I would go against certain guys. I'm just like, man, this guy's a stud, and like it almost like it would make me more nervous than it should have been.
So you took that and you had the ability now to back pocket that
Now,
or
yeah, now it's just
compartmentalize it, so to
now it
speak.
just doesn't matter. It almost I take the same approach that I would at like in business, and I love the quote that I treat the CEO the exact same way that I do the janitor. Like I talk
Hmm.
to everybody the same. You're just a person. It doesn't matter to me.
Absolutely.
So I take that exact same approach to fighting, or jujitsu rather.
And the CEOs that matter would prefer to have it that way,
Yeah.
as long as it's
We're-
it's respectful.
You're just yeah, exactly. I
Yeah,
treat everybody with the same amount of respect. We're all
because they
just
treat the janitors the same
Mhm.
way they treat their fellow CEOs and their fellow VPs and their fellow directors.
exactly, and you have to. I mean, we're all just people.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
paradigms.
going into a competition with if somebody does have a name, like it kind of makes me more excited just to know that they're like I need to bring my A game.
The
So,
moment,
yeah.
like that's what I was talking
So
about.
that's what's
Being
really
aware of the
great,
moment.
but I'm
Yeah.
not worried about them.
Right.
And it doesn't affect the way I perform.
Yeah, I can see. I can say that. Getting back to, I mean, can I have a quote? Am I? Can I?
Hey man.
I don't know that any. Was Copernicus at the point where he could have a quote when he was Copernicus, or did he have to die first to have a quote? I don't know how that works.
Well, I think in today's society you can just make your own quotes. We
Could
got
I
the
hashtag it?
we'll hashtag it. We got the
Okay.
intraweb.
It's the interwebs, yeah. So again, no moment can be bigger than you because without you, there never be a moment. So
Absolutely.
again,
That's it. That's your quote.
looking at a name like Caprito and knowing that I had to face him, and by all means, man, I think Eddie Bravo's great, but I think the genius of Eddie Bravo was understanding his place in that entire paradigm and knowing that he was at the precipice of something
Yeah.
and capitalizing on that situation. Uh, I know Eddie loosely, and I think that Eddie realized that he had an opportunity with his win over Hoyler, and he, capitalized on it. He was already committed to being a no-gi guy, but people, please realize, he earned a legitimate black belt from Jean-Jacques Machado,
That's no joke.
which is absolutely no joke. And but he, and as a wrestler, he kind of, had a history of being a no-gi grappler, wrestling, and he kind of wanted to go that way. Then he kind of built on the fact that he could be counterculture and go the no-gi way, and rename movements and positions because he's an individual and has that personality, and again capitalized on it. And I don't want to make any negative connotations about that. I don't mean to imply those, but took advantage of the opportunity and marketed it in such a way that it made him very successful. So this sounds really bad when I bring up the name that I say this, but I don't want to be like the one and done, and grow on that one thing you did in life.
Oh yeah.
But you need to, I guess, you have to within yourself have those pivotal moments. For me though, it's one of several or many pivotal moments where you realize who you are, and maybe people make a bigger deal out of it than I do or anybody else, because I did what I was supposed to do. I did what my master taught me to do. I did what I thought I was capable of doing.
Yeah.
But that all being said, the moment, I couldn't allow it to be bigger than me, because without me, that moment wouldn't exist.
Right.
Rodrigo's exist without me, period.
Yeah.
Dude's amazing. He didn't need me.
Yeah.
I need him more than he needs me in that regard. But it was an opportunity.
Yeah.
And again, unless you're told that you can accomplish anything, unless you're true to yourself and true to the art and true to the things that can potentially make you great, if you don't put in the hours at the gym, if you don't take the mental reps, the physical reps, none of those things matter. And I felt like, I don't want to even say the stars aligned, because that means that's a one-time thing or a one-day thing.
Right. It's just a moment. It's not the moment.
It's not, period.
You
said it better than I could have.
We do it all. This is what we train for. This is what we do. And I think along the journey, we have a lot of moments, and some are more memorable than others. But at the end of the day, it's just another great moment to be had.
Who said it best? Nick Diaz. I'm not surprised, motherfucker.
Hey.
Nick Diaz said it best, because he trained for that moment for his entire life and all the other moments. So he wasn't surprised when he did it. Another kids coach, and people make fun of kids coaches.
Man, that's the best thing you can do is coach kids.
And more than anything, I felt like, first of all, I wanted my children in my house, my 3 that are training, to learn the brand of jiu-jitsu I learned. I wanted them to learn it correctly, and I felt like they weren't getting that originally, and I wanted them to have the benefit of what I had. And I still take them to my master to learn. I still go to my master's kids class so I can learn.
Yep.
He thinks I'm there to help him out, but secret, Rodrigo, I'm there to learn also.
All coaches need coaches.
Yeah, and so I'm never going to give that up. I never want to give that up, but man, it was my opportunity to give back more than anything for what's been given to me, and that's probably what it's meant most to me. And the byproduct of giving back is I've been able to learn in a more remedial level, which you can't beat. It's irreplaceable. And man, it was all basic jiu-jitsu. That's what that match was comprised of: jiu-jitsu theory, jiu-jitsu conversations I've had, basic things that I've seen happen over and over again, the conversations that I had with my instructor, or that I'm having with my students, or when I'm competing, I just have little talks with myself about reminders, because I think and everybody approaches things different ways. It's nothing, no way better than the next, but what I would encourage people to do, and I'll gladly take anybody else's ideas too, because maybe I can build upon those for myself. But talk to yourself while you're out there. Like, be ever present about where you're at and what needs to happen next and what needs to be accomplished. And I truly believe a lot of people don't do that. And if you don't do that, you're not doing yourself justice. Like, and you need to pass the guard. Where am I at now? I need to pass the guard. What do I need to do in order to pass the guard? Like, my foot needs to be here. I need to control the sleeve here. But in order to stop me, they have to control my sleeve here and do this. My head needs to be underneath their chin to flatten them out, put them in the worst position so I can be in a better position. If you're not having those conversations, and I'm speaking faster because I'm having that conversation at a higher rate in my head,
Yeah.
What are you doing then?
Yeah. You just said something that just made me think of a quote from the one and only John Jacques Machado,
Yeah.
who we saw there.
Who we saw.
Like he says, you don't do jujitsu, you feel jujitsu. And the more you learn, the less you use. But in order to use less, you have to learn more.
How confusing is that?
It's super confusing,
But how truthful is
it makes
that?
complete sense to me.
So
Holy cow. And it just, you were
Yeah.
just, it was almost essentially what you were just kind of talking about.
here's the thing: is I don't know how good I am at jiu-jitsu, but I know how well I feel jiu-jitsu, and I know how good it makes me feel.
Yeah.
And there's some things man, okay, so here's what's scary. I think I'm pretty decent at it. But again, when I look at my oldest son Rickson, like that, it's a little scary.
So where is he going to
Where is he
be?
gonna be versus where I am now?
Yeah.
So I could smash him at wrestling at the age he is now and the age I was at his age because I had so many more years of experience. I'd smash him, and I may smash him at jujitsu because I'd be meaner than him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I I'd just be more cutthroat, maybe more competitive. But and this is a big but. Two
But
buts. Buuuut. Dot dot dot. He may have more imagination and may have a better feel eventually in some ways because he's already creating things. I didn't start jiu-jitsu till I was 30. And being kind of born of it more so, and then, DNA and such things, it may not even be close. He may feel it more and be able to do more artistically with it.
yeah.
And sometimes when I explain to people, sometimes when I have the jiu-jitsu conversation with people, I feel bad for them because they have to have a textbook understanding of what jiu-jitsu is.
Yeah.
And when I don't know what to do sometimes, I just let my body tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And when I need to have a discussion, I'll flip the page and go to, I'm supposed to elevate the feet here, lock my arm out, fight with my skeletal system, which is some of the greatest advice I've ever read or been given is fight with your skeletal system. And it makes a huge difference if you can figure out how to put that in. We won't go into that. Other than that, I feel it. I just feel jiu-jitsu, which is
Yeah.
a beautiful thing to be able to feel it and just kind of an understanding where you need to go. And there's people who understand it a lot more than I do. So let's be clear. On the scale of that, there's people way above me and beyond me. But it feels good to be a natural grappler and just to kind of have a understanding or feeling of where you have to go and what you need to do. Man, it's a beautiful thing that you can't replace.
Yeah.
Can't replace that. Either you do or you don't.
Yeah.
Period. But that's life, though, right?
It's
Either you do or
life.
you don't. Either you know how to go talk to that girl, you don't. You know.
Hey, it all comes back to life, like we said.
Right.
Full circle.
But so yeah, so that quote by Jean Jacques is 100% that. You can go as textbook as you want to, or you need to, or you can try to. But the X factor is either you do or you don't.
Yeah.
And then in those times where you play those head games with yourself, because you go, man, this person trains with this guy, or they do this, or nah. Yeah, but either you are or you aren't.
Yeah.
And for me, a lot of times it comes right back to that and just go, okay, but everybody's tough, but are you trained? And then if you're trained, there's that other thing.
Yeah.
If you have that other thing, you don't have that other thing. So, maybe one of the most gratifying things, though, is to know, excuse me, is that, I have a regular life, which most people don't assume. You know that about me because you know me.
Yeah.
Have a job, have kids, teach classes, jiu-jitsu classes, coach football, coach wrestling when it's wrestling time, season. Man, you get pulled a lot of different ways, and again, just not a moment, not the moment, but a moment. But to have that win over somebody who that is still a regular person, has got ups and downs and trials and tribulations, but that trains full time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big difference.
It makes a difference. But
Yeah.
there you go too. Again, we're all human.
We're all human.
So maybe there's an argument that maybe the win's not completely mine. The other side of it is to go, well, hey, maybe he didn't take me seriously.
Maybe.
Maybe he goes, well, it's just the other guy, and I am who I am. And in the gym at any given day, we've all been, man, by a blue belt or white belt. You get put in a position, and then you're mentally trying to kind of catch up, and you go, man, I got to dig myself out of this hole. But you never admit it outwardly.
Yeah.
But inwardly, you're like, man, this little
Yeah. It's like
MFer, I gotta
they're
dig myself out of this and do the right things, and then you're like, ooh, man,
gotta get out of that
just
one.
got out of that one.
Yeah.
But we're all grown ass men, and when black belt is a black belt is a black belt, and grown ass man is a grown ass man.
Yeah.
So by the time maybe you figure that out, sometimes maybe it's too late. Maybe that's the reality of it. Then again, maybe it's not.
Maybe it's not. Man, well, let's we just covered a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of good stuff. We'll have to
Scotch is good too. Yeah.
Man, stuff is delicious. And then is that
Pellegrino, yeah.
Pellegrino?
Mix a little Pellegrino in
That's like
there.
the perfect way to mix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's wrap it up. We'll definitely have to do this again.
Yeah, for
Oh man,
sure.
this is just a great conversation. How can folks get a hold of you? If do you want folks getting a hold of you on social? You
Yeah.
tell me. If you don't,
Um,
that's fine. But if you
you
do, how can
know,
folks get a hold of you?
it's fu.com, Tracy Taylor, just kidding. You can go to, I don't know, Instagram. It's probably the easiest. I tend to save Facebook for the people closest to me, all, 2,000 of them. So I'd say Instagram, the El Cabron, TheLcabron. Twitter is exactly the same. Um, but if you just look up Tracy Taylor, no E, no I with a heart above it, Tracy Taylor on Instagram, I'm pretty simple to find for the most part. So so let's talk about that. For instance, I used to have a website, 'cause I used to have a clothing line, right?
Yeah.
Blunt Force Trauma.
You want me plug
Nah,
that?
no,
Oh,
no need to plug it.
okay.
Uh,
Cause I'm putting everything in the show notes. Like
I
we'll have
appreciate.
links in the show
No
notes.
reason to
So
plug that. But
okay.
man, you're talking about again um, a true celebrity versus a local celebrity, stuff like that. Done some Bud Light commercials, some print media modeling, some things. Um, Movie American Street Ballers.
We didn't even get into your history. That's why we got to talk more. And we're
Yeah,
like, I'm gonna like seriously interview, and we're gonna like figure out where you come from and what you've done, and we can share that with
yeah.
people because
It's,
you have
okay,
such an interesting story.
so let me tell you. So this is the biggest thing to know is again, like we talked about, parents telling you can be anything. But I remember sitting on my grandfather's lap as I was a kid, my mother's father, and doing what all kids probably do and saying, "Tell me a story about when you were young." I
Hmm.
think every kid does that, right?
Yeah.
And I remember him starting to tell me these stories about, like, he told me when he was in the Marine Corps. And then one story's about when he was in the Navy. And I was like, what? Like, are you 80,000 years old?
Like you've done all this
Right.
stuff.
And my oldest Jada says I'm a vampire. And it's like, you've done everything. You lived all these different lives. And when she says that, I kind of smile and go, that I'm doing this man justice. Because I realized then that like, after the Marines, he got out. Then he joined the Air Force. And then he got out, I'm sorry, the Navy. Then he got out of that. And then, forgive me, but I can't remember the organization he joined then. But it was like they built stuff like roads and bridges and like just another organization to belong to that was giving back
Yeah.
and almost like being in the military again. And I was like, man, when I hear this guy talk and all the stories he had, and then having my parents are both the oldest of five, both born in Oklahoma, both didn't have much other than amazing families, strong black families to help get them through and become the great things they became in life. Like, you only get one shot at this. And again, living your best life. And that was the biggest thing I got from all of that was, again, no return slip. You only do this once.
Hmm.
And if nothing else, all you have are the stories to tell and the memories. And then maybe if you do it right, the playground legend stories that somebody will tell about you one day.
Legacy.
Legacy.
Man,
Legacy.
that's what it's about.
Henzo's legacy. Another amazing person to hang out with. Man, that's literally it. And if you do it right, you have that more than anything. Those stories to tell, and then you'll forget them, and because you'll be too old or you have head trauma, as in my case, and you hope you'll have people around you that can tell those stories, and that's when you truly make an impact. Which was the tagline for Blunt Force Trauma: "Make an impact." Um, that's when you know you're living the best version of your life, and that's what's really honestly more important to me is to enjoy every single moment and build on that every single day. And you only have one chance to do it. And like that's the most incredible thing, if nothing else. So why am I going to get phased? Why are you going to get phased by any of those things in front of you? Just
Yeah.
live it right now for the moment, plan for tomorrow, and get those acorns, right?
Yeah.
Get the acorns.
Get the acorns. There you have it, folks.
There it is.
Dude, that's the perfect note to end on.
Right. Acorns.
All right, folks. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Out.
All right, we did it. Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate it always. Sorry about the battery issue, slacking. I'm doing my best, but we will improve it. And I wish I could confidently say it won't ever happen again, but yeah, you'll see. Sorry though. Hey, real quick, um, for all your CBD needs, folks, go check out Jumbo Superfoods. We had Kyle Brown on the last podcast, episode 6, and man, their products are just amazing, the best. So I have a link in the show notes. Use that. Go purchase some CBD. And last but not least, the song for this week. I actually discovered this artist while watching Netflix. I was watching the show Ozark on Netflix, and she was playing. And iPhone, and I don't know about Androids, but iPhone has this wonderful thing with the Shazam app, just basically built in right into Siri. You'd be like, "Hey Siri, who sings this song?" or "What song is this?" and it tells you. And it happened to be a song by Queen Irby. I've never heard of this chick before, but I'm digging her sound. So, uh, ideally, I would like to share songs from like local artists, whether you're local to me or not, but just more independent, less mainstream artists. I'd like to share your guys' music. So send that to me again at adam@imposedwill.com. But she's dope, so I want to share her stuff too because this song just really struck a chord with me. So, again, this song is called Living the Dream by Queen Irby. So, check it out. Unless you're on YouTube. I'm not going to put the song on there because I don't want this pulled off, just in case.